My time at Boston was, I think it was incredible. I mean, I came to Boston in 1995. So it was literally a new country, lots of kids with like dreams to, finally possibly do jobs they only been able to do pre-94. So I think that was the time South Africa was most alive with possibility, as the saying has gone. So for me, it was incredible. I think it was the best time to actually be a part of Boston. I think wanting to follow your dreams is all good, but not having a plan about how you're going to get from A to B is half of your problem. So I think it's very important to know exactly, what destination B is and how do I get to B? What are the, reasonable timelines to get to B? Because a lot of kids have this dream, but many of them don't want to wake up and make it happen. So I think you need to wake up. In order for your dream to start happening. And waking up means doing your research, if it means job shadowing someone just to see if this is really what I want to do, then do that. If it means working for free for a month just to check out the scope of whatever career it is you might want to get into, then do that. But I don't think you should compromise on how you get to your dream, because there'll always be people who think that you can't do it, and more often than not you're one of those people. So until you believe in your own dream, you're not going to make it. Then it doesn't help that your aunt thinks you're mad, that you want to do PR, your uncle thinks, why would you want to be a DJ? Your teacher thinks, really, you're not going to TV, there aren't enough TV stations. So I think self-belief also goes a long way. Staying relevant is, I think, one of the hardest things to do. People think getting into media is hard. I always say it's like a relationship. If you think it's difficult having her say yes, once she said yes, how are you going to keep her? I treat being in media as that, is how do you stay relevant? Do you know exactly what the people you're talking to want to hear? Are you speaking to the people that, are your audience in a way that makes them happy, in a way that makes them come back for more the next day? So I think staying relevant is jeepers. Yeah, it's quite a task, but it's important to do. You need to be able to reinvent yourself. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to push yourself into areas that you might not be comfortable in. If it's part of your job and you're not hurting little animals and little people, then by all means do it. I think one of the tough things about our industry is there are so many of us and not necessarily enough gigs for all of us. So how do you set yourself apart from everyone else is the first way you're going to get that gig. How professional are you in what you do is the difference between whether you're going to be called back to do the gig again. Do you give value for money? Are you organized? Can people find you easily? Can people type, onto the internet, I need to hire so-and-so, and your details come up? Do you have a website? How accessible are you? I think there's so many boxes you need to tick in order to turn yourself into a business. Because it's all good having your talent, but talent without a plan, talent without some sort of strategy is a waste. I think Boston courses are a great foundation because, looking back to when I did media, in my first year, pretty much covered everything. In fact, we covered so much of everything, I decided that maybe I don't want to specialize in radio. So I looked at journalism and copywriting instead, because with a journalist background and already working in radio, I'm one of the founders of Boston Radio. So you get to realize exactly what you're getting yourself into before you start specializing. And what I also like is because you have industry players, coming in as guest lecturers, some are your lecturers, then you literally have your finger on the pulse all the time. Every single kid that I was at Boston with is some sort of leader or industry player in the industry right now. And I think, that speaks for itself. Can confidence be taught when it comes to presenting? That's a difficult question, but I'll speak for myself. I hate public speaking, believe it or not. I hate speaking, in front of the camera, like TV or like now. But if that's what you have to do to get to what you want to get to, then you do it. There's a saying that people are more scared of public speaking than they are of death. And, I'd rather bear this than be in a box right now. So, you do what you got to do. But as you do this, the more you do it, the more confident you become, the more you realize what you can do and what you can't do. You realize what works, what doesn't work. So I think don't be afraid to jump into the deep end. I still hate speaking in public, but, I do it when I have to and if I have to. My advice to anyone trying to get into the industry is don't wait until you're ready to work to get into the industry. So even, for instance, if you're starting first year media, now is the time to be making contacts. Now is the time for people to be almost knowing you, that when they see you, they're like, oh yeah, it's that kid that wants to work in radio, or it's that kid that wants to be my skivvy and make coffee for me every morning on my radio show. But I think you need to be memorable. But you also have to almost know the difference between being memorable and being a nag, because that's how you get into the industry and that's how you start being taken seriously. I mean, so many kids have come in and out of studio while I do my radio show because they want to see if they have the knack to do the job, and also, just again check out the scope and see if that's what they really want to do. There's a kid who wanted to be a radio presenter, but after sitting in on the show after 3 hours, decided that he'd rather produce and be behind the scenes. And that's what this kid is studying towards right now. So I think it's important to get your foot in the door, working for free, making tea, even if it means you're spending your own money initially, just get in there. But don't forget, don't be a nag. Okay, so what I decided to do when I was still at YFM, I think it was 16 years ago, every time I arrived at YFM, there was always a kid saying, listen, I've done well in matric and I can't afford to go to school. Can you help? And then I picked up the phone and I called Kerry and Ari, and I said, listen guys, can you give me, 1, 2, 3 bursaries? They gave me 3, and we put 3 kids through school. They're now working. And in fact, I think 2016, they're starting their own bursary program, believe it or not. And we've now put over 1,000 kids through school in the last 16 years. So, but it's still not enough. It's all good helping 100 people, but with each 100 you help, there's 1,000 that you couldn't access. So I think the more of us that do this, the better. You know what? The sad thing is media is so popular, but I don't think we have enough outlets for the kids to get into. That's why I always say, try and create your own opportunities. Even if it means setting up your own little studio, where you assist other kids who might want to get into media. So, maybe I must set up a studio, I need a sound engineer. You call a place like Boston, or the kids who need to make a demo. Half the time the kids don't even know where to go to make a demo. So I think it's important to think outside the box. Don't just think I'm going to go get a job. Maybe you are the job provider. We're just waiting for you to, open your eyes and think out the box a bit. But there are opportunities as long as you make sure you are relevant and you stay memorable. People will always make an opportunity or make time to hire somebody that is memorable and will add value to whatever job might be available. And if you're memorable enough or talented enough, they might even create a position for you. So I think it's important to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. I say all the time to the kids, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Be unashamed about it. I think one of my biggest challenges in my radio career specifically was getting onto commercial radio. I remember before I got to Boston, I was already possibly doing about 6-7 demos a month, just sending them to any and every radio station, including non-English radio stations. I just wanted to get into radio. By the time I was at Boston, I think I was again I was sending a demo to Metro FM almost every month, Soweto Community Radio, Josie FM. I remember I sent about 93, I sent a demo to Radio Sky. I've sent, I think, was it Capital that I sent a demo to? I was sending demos all the time. And then you realize that as much as you might think you're good at what you do, you still have to put in the work. You still have to be patient. And I think it's at that point when you think nobody's willing to listen to me, that you need to push that much more. Because, now that I'm in the industry, I see what happens. So many radio program managers receive, tons of demos, and they don't have tons of time to listen to the demo. So what it has actually taught me is, how can you present what you do in the most attractive way that will make them want to listen to the demo or want to hear you out and possibly give you the job. Being patient is the one big thing that I've learned about this industry. It doesn't all happen immediately, and sometimes you're not as hot as you think you are. My first big career highlight was there's a woman who used to read news on my show in 1999 at YFM. She's now my wife of 13 years. So for me, that's a career highlight. As a result of that, we now have 4 kids. That's another career highlight. Because I have 4 kids, I can't get a sports car. That's another highlight. I have to spend my money responsibly. But listen, I think the ability to change so many lives is something that's understated in this industry. The fact that you miss your radio show just once and someone says you ruined my day because you're the voice I listen to on my way home. You're the person I unwind to on my way home. Because you're not on the radio, my evening was a mess. Little things like that for me make it all worthwhile. When I remember when I've been at 5 FM for 9-10 years now, and I got an email the other day from a young lady who was telling me that, I listened to you at the end of primary school. You took me through high school. I've now just finished varsity. I've bought my first house. I've bought my first car. I'm about to get married. And she literally put the hashtag, "Thanks for raising me." It's little things like that that make it worthwhile. So, that's why I love what I do, and that's why I'll keep on doing it. Most embarrassing moment on air was 1998. I was doing the afternoon drive show on YFM, and I was in a long distance relationship, and my girlfriend was in the bus traveling to Joburg to come and see me, and I forgot to switch off the mic, and I'm on my phone, and they were busy discussing what's going to happen when she gets home, and well, the mic was on, so don't try it at home, kids.